of a weekend. Oh, before I forget, I gotta copy the link and spread it around real quick. Yes, Kitty, I see you. I don't think I've been sitting for more than a minute and she wants on. Get out of here, fly. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, they didn't stream over the weekend because I had to get things settled at home. We had 2 trips to the hospital ER, which is never fun. But everything, I guess, kind of worked out. So, yeah, my father's fever got him basically in trouble because he has no immune system for the most part. So, had to take him down to the ER, which my father really hates now. I can't say I blame him after all the damn trips I've made there with him. So, here is some of episode 2 of Dungeons and Debt. This episode is called Slime Time. It's gonna be it's just Red versus a little slime monster. Let me try to balance that out. So there's no audio to this just yet. But this is the new project, so it's about 10 seconds of somewhat finished animation. Well, frame rate slowdown. Yeah, I keep forgetting because this file has gotten so big, the animation frame rate suffers quite a bit. I think if I lower the image size, the screen size down, it reduces that. Yeah, slightly better. So I've got red. That's my key. Those are my keyframes. I was not able. This had to be, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to do 5 frames instead of 4 frames like I've been trying to maintain. But it came out pretty good. So red will be chopping this slime into pieces. Yeah, I actually took 2 tries to get this animation on the slime done right. It needed to be more jiggly. So all I really have to do is draw 5 frames, and then I cannibalize one of the frames because she's going to be chopping it up in pieces, so I'll have to have her arm. The arm is set to slash down the middle right there. It's going to be have to do one there and one there. It's just meant to be something silly because that's the name of the tune, anyways. Got to make things funny. So that is the current project. And normally I wouldn't show you guys this because this isn't going to be done or released for a while. But when I had things get kind of crazy over the weekend, well, the weekend and the last few days, because my father's fever didn't really vanish until Monday, I needed to do something to calm myself down. So I'll be doing just a little bit of work on this, and then the other project I'm going to be doing is for the Resident Evil 2 Reanimated project. I need to do I've got shots 1 and shots 2. And I did shots 1 and 2 last time for the first project that we all did. So I've got scene 1 done, and I got just a little bit of scene 2 left that I gotta work on. I've got destroyed buildings on fire in the background for half of a shot, and then I need to have a clean city on the other shot. I've got half of the burning backgrounds done, so don't need you doing that. Thank you. So I am just happy everything is finally frickin' settled down here. So step 1 is I'm going to be breaking Red into a few pieces for this. So I will do her upper body, then her lower body, and then I add her head and then her hair. It makes me happy that I condensed the design just a little bit. I saw a really nice looking indie animation the other day. It made me feel real self-conscious about my stuff, because I'm not too far behind what this other guy did, technically. But he put a lot of work into it. It looked, his backgrounds were gorgeous. And my backgrounds are still kind of light and fluffy and need to adhere more towards the industry standard, I suppose you could say. Whew. But yeah, I'm so happy that my father's blood draw worked out well today. His kidney function has improved 0.1. So your kidney function is like what on a scale of 0.8 to 1.3. Anything beyond 1.3 means your kidneys aren't working properly. And so my father's kidney function has been like 1.8 and up. And then today, his kidneys had recovered some. It's now down to 1.7. That one little bit of improvement is a really good sign. Because every little bit of improvement helps. I keep thinking, boy, it'd be nice to have some improvement like that on his bone marrow, because he ended up being sick for roughly a week with something. But the fact that his kidneys have improved just a little bit, and his blood count is doing pretty good, and everything else is maintaining, that's good enough for me for right now. With how everything has been going, and then whatnot, I was half expecting the news to be either so-so or not very good. So I'm just happy that everything has mellowed out a little, because I know because he's starting his chemo again, because his white cell count is back to a better level. So he might have had some kind of kidney infection or something over the weekend. I don't know. But it's all done. So he's improved some, and he gets to go back on chemo and all that stuff. And now we just have to keep an eye and see how he does on the chemo. Because it would be nice if he could finish one cycle of that. And a cycle is a month. Because he's on a different medication this time, so I'm still learning about some of this stuff on the side. But yeah, it was nice to finally have a little bit of good news after all the weekend's shenanigans. Because I've kind of gotten the feeling that my father has not yet recovered from that 3 weeks in the hospital he had to spend. I don't know if I could if using the word traumatized is probably a correct one, but we will say it is. He hates. We'll say he hates hospitals with a passion now, because he had to spend 3 weeks pretty much by himself. Because we were 215 miles away. We could only stop by once a week for a few hours, and that was hard on everybody. But hospitals make him very anxious now. So I am just happy that the last time he only had to stay there for just the night. Next morning, when we went to go pick him up, we were running just about 5 or 6 minutes late. We went out to the hospital. He was already sitting out in the front of the hospital. Did not want to be in there another instant. And it's nothing to do with the nurses or the staff. It's just he's kind of starting to get a phobia about the hospital, I suspect. So, and everything has mellowed out a little bit. And I think I'll celebrate later on tonight by going to bed early. I slept pretty crappy the other night. I've been having to use that NyQuil stuff to actually get some decent sleep. And after a few days of that, my body sort of built up a little resistance to it. So I gotta go and do things properly now. So that means I gotta go get some more exercise and do a few other things. But things have finally mellowed out just a little bit, enough for me to calm down and relax some. But we'll see how my dad does on this new type of chemo, because we only got a week into it last time before everything kind of went south. And I wish I was better at drawing breasts. I'll have to. I guess I'll just have to practice on that. Because even though I'm doing stylized art, I think I can do a little bit better. So, either way, things have finally mellowed out some on my end, because I had no idea which way things were going to go over the weekend. Because we had to just keep an eye on my dad, which he really didn't like. And he also didn't like the fact that if his fever got too bad, he's going to have to go right back to the ER. So things have finally mellowed out some, and now that that's done, I've got to play catch up just a little bit. So, not much. I'm just a little tired. But I got to stay up until 10 o'clock, and I'm trying to stick back to my proper bedtime ritual. So I ended up getting stressed out to the point where I was sleeping probably less than 4 hours a night, and the quality of my sleep was crap. So I spent most of last week resetting my sleep cycle. So that meant bedtime was between 10:30 and 11, which I didn't like entirely because I had to cut back on doing animated projects. And then, so now that my body's starting to naturally get tired around bedtime again, to start waking up at the same time every morning. So that's what is it? Steps 1 and 2 to this process. Step 3 is the one that I don't like, just because step 3 is do something for like half an hour before bedtime, like just read a book. And it's not that I don't like reading books, it's that, when I get ready to go to bed, I want to go to bed. So, it's just me figuring I'm having to retrain my body because I was so stressed out that I just wasn't sleeping properly. But right now, I'm just working on. This is slime time. This is episode 2 of Dungeons in Debt. Here, I'll pull it up. So this is the start of the tune. And just get rid of this little bit right there. So this tune will have a little more action to it. It's going to be running really slow, so I'm playing around with a new tool that I've avoided using for a while. And so the new tool is the camera tool, which is meant to replace some of the symbol tools for Flash. So I can do gentle zoom-ins and pans now, and I actually really like it. So here's the first little section of episode 2. So, got Red chopping up a slime. I needed to experiment a little bit more with some motion, so I chose a slime monster. And this is 11 seconds of animation as it is right now. I'm going to have to condense that just a little bit, because it's not going to be a full-on fight between the two. It's not going to be a full-on fight per se, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I got most of what I want. It's always the first setup on doing these tunes. It always takes a little while longer. So I will do a little bit of this, and then the next project I'm working on is I've got 30 or 40 other animators waiting on me to finish this. So last year, no, not last year, it was 2020. We reanimated the opening to the first Resident Evil game. And this year, we're reanimating the opening to Resident Evil 2. And I've got shots 1 and 2, so I've got the first 8 seconds of animation done. But truth be told, I forgot about some of this, and the deadline is in a few days. So I worked on this yesterday for a little bit. I've only got a background shot that I have to finish up. I've got to do a city that's burning in the background for half a screen. For half the shot. For half the frame. And then the other half of the frame, I've just got a normal city. And the gag is in what the cities are named. So that's exciting, because it's really just some background animation, a little bit of fire, maybe an explosion, and then I am all done. And then I forget what day the tune is going to be uploaded. I think it's like a week or 2 from today. But when my father got his cancer diagnosis and everything else crapped in, I pushed everything aside. And I'm paying the price for some of that now, because I'm having to go back and redo things. But that's okay. I'm doing better at stuff. I've still got to do this month's Joy comic. I reread it twice, didn't like it. Reread it again in my head last night, and I think I've got it where I want it, because I'm trying to not just redraw all the old comics and slightly update the scripts. I'm trying to flesh things out a little bit more with the characters. So I'm still moving a little slow, but I'm not doing too bad. I'm just happy things have calmed down for the moment, anyways. Because what is it? Next month, my father has a telemed appointment where he's got to talk to an oncologist over the computer down at the local hospital. And this is outside of his usual weekly blood draw. And then my mom has to go into the ear, nose, and throat doctor because she has a spot on her, the back of her tongue down in her throat that they have to take a look at. And her voice will occasionally become very hoarse and strained. So we have to make sure it isn't anything. And then I believe she's also got to get signed up for a mammogram. And I don't know if we're going to, I don't know when that's going to happen. I guess we'll try and get that sorted out. So I want to try to get all my folks' hospital stuff taken care of. Because come November, my father will get a new oncologist. We're getting the oncologist that actually stops down at our local hospital once a month. So he's associated with them. And then after that, hopefully things will improve a little bit here, because at the very least this oncologist is only 76 or so miles from us. So 76 miles instead of 200 and 17 is a pretty big difference, because a 76-mile drive here, we've got 80 mile-an-hour speed limits in Montana, so that's like a 70-minute drive. And besides, we can plan ahead. We got the local Walmart, because where I live, we don't even have a Walmart out here in the boonies. So that's good, because then we can just plan ahead, stop by Walmart, stock up on a few things, and that'll be that. So I'm just happy that everything has calmed down a little bit and I can relax some, because I need to work on calming down and actually improving my sleep, because I don't want to sleep apnea runs in the family, unfortunately. I don't want to have to get one of those goddamn machines if I can help it, which, part of that means I also have to drop 10 pounds. Well, maybe not 10 pounds, but between 7 and 10 pounds, because I was recommended to try and get back to my high school weight, which was like 171, 72. I can't quite remember, because high school was 20 plus years ago. What's up? I'm just here for entertainment. Which animation that I talked about last time? Believe it or not, with everything that's happened between now and the last stream, it feels like it was a year ago. I've got animations that I want to do that I haven't gotten around to yet. Oh, romanticide. I'm still plotting that out in my head. So I'm revising some of the script a little bit more before I get to it, and then I have to revise my character designs because I've got, even though it's going to be probably going to be a short 5 minute or so tune. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got five I've got 4 characters that actually have lines and dialogue. I've got one character who's kind of just an opening scene character. And so I've got to sort out everybody's designs. One character has 2 designs because he's got 2 different outfits that he wears. And then there's his aunt. Actually, she's got 2 outfits as well. But I had to push it aside just a little bit before I get back to writing it because I'm trying to condense things, and I also, the last thing I want to do after I finish writing it is I want to get a little bit of feedback from some of the other screenwriters online, but I won't call it the title that it has. I'll change the name I'll change a couple characters' names, and I guess I'll just call it Project Untitled for right now. And then I will get to it. So I'm trying to sort out, I was sorting out a few design ideas the other day, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want some of my characters to look like. Because there's what's in my head, and then there's actually animating it and finding out how things, what works and what doesn't. That's always irritating, because sometimes I'll have a masterpiece in my head, and then when it comes time for me to draw it, I get maybe 30% of what I'm seeing, and the harder I try, the less clear I see what I want to do. Maybe I'm just getting old. Well, that's not a maybe thing. I am. I'm 42. I'm middle-aged now, but no, I'm also still trying to look for a few different ways to simplify some stuff, so that way I'm not entirely cutting corners. But the one thing I was concerned about, and I was thinking about this the other day, is trying to squeeze in a little bit more character into my protagonist, and I want to squeeze in character fast. So, oh, go ahead. Oh, damn it. That would be why. How about now? I thought I had my audio volume set. Yeah, I turned the audio volume up. I had it down to this is at 55, 56%. I had it down at, I think, 35. I didn't even realize that. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to sort out my characters so I can squeeze in a little bit more character for everybody. Because even though I've got one character who has all of, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I've got like 3 scenes, and 2 of them are short scenes. And then I've got another character who's got all of 2 scenes who are kind of short. Because he's essentially just kind of a world-building character. That's it. But I'm trying to make sure everybody has something a little distinct about them, and also has a little bit more to who they are. I'm also kind of studying a few ways to simplify animation, just a little bit, if I can find a way to do that from time to time. I've been watching some old anime to study how they used to do things, just because they didn't have all the shortcuts they do now when we went digital. So I'm kind of checking to see how they used to do stuff 30 years ago. But I'm also attempting to get a little bit more humor in the series, because it's a dark series in a lot of ways. But also not it's not pitch black dark, but it's dark enough. Try and match that. Looking good. And it's everything up here's gotten a little too big, so I will shrink it down. Oh, well, I forget. Oh, it's about a guy who can see a spirit that nobody else can see. And then it turns out it's not that nobody else can see her. It's that nobody can see her until they're about to die. And when they see her, they don't see her. They see something else. It's usually pretty ghastly. So it's got some very light horror in it. But I'm still sorting it out, because originally when I wrote it, it was a lot lighter. But that was, 10 years ago when I did these tunes, because the spirit he can see, he thinks it's a ghost. It's not a ghost. It's death. And so the only people who can see death is when they are about to die. And usually they don't see that death is a woman. They see something freaky. And that's why it's called romanticide. So I hadn't actually figured about how to show what people see, other than maybe a brief glimpse of something kind of grotesque looking. It's supposed to, when I was originally writing these ideas down 10 years ago, the idea was they see some weird reflection of who they are. But now I don't even know if I want to do that. Now I just want... Now, because if I do that, then that's actually explaining what people are seeing. So I'm still kind of piecing together a few things in there, because ultimately, at the end of the day with this series, if the protagonist is hanging around with death, and when people see death, they freak out and they die, and they do die shortly after they see her. Even though they're not really seeing her, but they're seeing something. So having to kill characters off, even just little background characters that you might only see for a shot or two, I've kind of realized that is pretty dark. Oh, sure, go ahead and ask anything. So Breach, I had to take some time off from that. I've been rewriting some sections of it since I'm starting over, because I want to get back to Breached. But until I get a few things sorted out here, I can't do that. I also realize I've got to simplify a few areas that I had. So the first thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find some ways to condense a few of the chapters that I wrote, because a lot of those chapters were very short, between 6 and 8 pages. So I'm going to be looking at combining these chapters into a slightly longer chapter. And I was also rethinking how to explain some of the weird concepts I had, because I can finally expand upon a few things just a little bit more. Because I still have to go over why Shasta is Zero's proxy. And then I also have to get into other things there because I have to show off the odd at some point. I haven't even worked out its design yet, but for right now I'm trying to streamline some of what I had established in those first few chapters. So instead of having the White Knight pop up around like chapter 3, the way I had originally wrote it, I've got the White Knight popping up more a few pages down from where I left off on chapter 1. Because he is the first antagonist of the series. And then there's the time element in the series. I've got to sort that out as well, because I've got a big time section inbound that I haven't quite written out. I keep looking through the occasional science magazine to explain some time concepts to me, just so I can use a little bit of that. And I haven't gotten the answers that I like, so I guess I'm better off just making stuff up. So what I want to do is I want to try and condense. I think I had the first story arc was Shasta meeting Zero. I want to try and shorten that just a little bit. And then after I shorten that a little bit, I'm actually going to expand things slightly inside the doll factory. Because I only did maybe a third of what I wanted with some of the lore. But I will be getting back to that. Hopefully once I finish off a little bit more animation and stuff, because I'm also still sorting out a different style for backgrounds, because I want to keep some quality in what I do where it remains a little distinct, but I'm not quite sure how to get that just yet. So it's the same thing with the animation that I've been doing, where I'm looking for a middle ground between having just enough or too little. Besides, I've also been rethinking some of my timeline for Breached, because I've had to change a few things that I was going to do with Shasta. But I've also got Jerry to work out, and then I've got a few more of the monsters, even though they're not really monsters, that I have to adjust a few things with them. Because I've got Zero is the easy one, because I know what Zero is trying to do. And then I've got some of the other monsters that need to be explained, because the one thing I didn't get a chance to explain the first time around, even though I was probably a chapter 2 away, was the Condemned. And I know what I'm going to do with them, because they're on the 3rd floor, and there's a reason they're these nasty, horrible things. Which I'm looking forward to doing that. I just hope I can pull it off. So, Breached is still on a little bit of hiatus. I just have to redo some of what I've got written down. And then I have to simplify a few things, because I'm kind of adjusting some of the reveal on certain things. Because the Condemned are the first priority once I get back to redoing the factory. Because they're kind of an important monster, even though they're not a very big one, but they're part of the lore. So I'm doing my best to get that sorted out. Okay. Last thing. And then I need to also do a bunch more Joy comics where I'm doing more newish stuff instead of revised, because I want to sneak in some more character for Joy and her mom, because I don't think I did enough with the two of them the first few times I redid those comics. And I was thinking about that the other night, while I was rewriting the next comic in my head. So I needed to do just a little bit more with them as characters. Because I can't just always have Joy walk all over her mother. So that'll be an interesting little comic to do. I'll probably get started on that after I finished the Resident Evil reanimated shot. Because that shot is kind of important, since I've got shots 1 and 2, so everything is starting on me. So yeah, I've got lots of projects to get to. Some of them aren't that big. It's just been a matter of getting back into the mindset, because I haven't really been able to think of stuff to do with my Joy characters ever since all this cancer shit started with my father. I was thinking of all kinds of stuff to do with them before that, and then I just kind of started to draw a blank. So I'm having to rediscover stuff. Because I want to, like I said, next year I want to try and have at least 10 cartoons out. And this will be one of the first ones. Once I finish it, I will lock it up. It can sit around and collect dust, because after I finish this tune, I have to finish the next tune. And the next tune will be a little bit easier, because the next tune is Red is the side character, and Garish and Green, I've given him a name. His name is Garish Green. I'll have to make sure I try and catch the right color for Garish Green. But he gets to be kind of the lead character on that one, and Red gets to be kind of the antagonist of it. But it's also gonna be a simple one. It's just gonna be him trying to get a parasite off of her. And I think it's probably going to come out to be about 45 to 50 seconds. Just because that seems like what all these end up being, time-wise. So that's everything that's currently going on. If I can start sleeping better, I can start working faster. Because I'm still not working as fast as I'd like. Not that the cat notices, though she's not really helping. Yeah, you. Yeah, I've also got the cats fighting these days. The one who's always on my lap is hogging my lap so much, the other one isn't getting a chance to sit on me anymore. And now she's yowling and throwing tantrums. I thought it was just because she was going senile because she's an old cat, but it looks like it's more so tantrums. Yep. Well, I've got one neurotic cat, and then I've got one jealous cat who's also senile. So it's not a very good mix, to be honest. Because if I were to sit down all day, this one cat would be on me all day and she'd never move. And I don't want that. Especially now that it turns out we've got a few mice that have invaded our house. Took care of one of them, but I think there's another 2, so we have to get rid of them. And the only Mauser we have is the one that's always liking to sit on my lap. So I will look for some ways to get rid of some mice outside of getting mice traps, because we don't need mice in the house. We've got enough pets. And there we go. I will most likely end up having to correct this frame a little further, but not right now. I will mostly have to correct her shoulders, but that's okay. Okay. So there we go. A little bit of progress. Yeah, this is going to be one of those shots that takes a day or so to get finished. So technically I don't want this one. I will recycle this a little bit and build off of it. Because I will get better at being an animator, damn it. Actually, I need to get better at everything, and I gotta do it in a shorter period of time. I've kind of realized I think I'm gonna have to sneak in more internet humor. So I think I'm gonna have to do at least one reference to something per tune, even if everything is kind of unrelated. So I've also got one thing that I'm going to address because I've never seen this addressed in a Dungeons and Dragons tune, and that is what happens if you fling dog poop or poop in general in a slime monster. Does a slime monster become poop? Yeah. It's a silly thought. What I realized, I don't think I've ever seen anybody address that. Does the slime eat the poop? Does it become the poop? So I'm gonna address that with this tune. As immature as it is, it's one of those things that I just think it's kind of funny. It's mildly random. So there's a famous audio clip from a viral video from like 10 years ago. And I won't say which one it is, just because when the time comes, people will recognize it. So I'm sneaking in something like that, where that way I can still kind of do my own thing, but have a reference in there. It's a very sad thing as a content creator when you want your stuff to do good, but people aren't willing to give it a chance unless it's something familiar. And I don't know if I've gotten any better at watching people's content since then, because I've been trying to give other viewers a view from time to time. So, okay, dude, thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you later. I'll hopefully get back to my normal streaming schedule and have a good dinner. Kitty, you are hot. Oof. Anytime you come and sit on my lap, you go up 12 degrees. I mean, 12 degrees. You make everything hot. And I don't know why. Whew. Stretch out my back a little bit. Yeah, I gotta do a better job stretching some, because I'm starting to recognize when I'm not sleeping at night very well. I'm realizing, you know, what's the one thing you do when you're tired and you're getting ready to sleep, or you're in bed trying to get to sleep? And in my case, I've been realizing when the anxiety and everything else has hit me real hard, and I'm lying in bed trying to sleep and I'm stretching out, if I'm not yawning, then it's the anxiety. So I need to work on some of that. I've been doing some exercise to help with some of it. But I think some of it is also coming down to just lifestyle changes. Okay, kitty, you need to make up your mind. It's been all of 6 minutes since she did a circle and shuffled around on my lap. Every 5 or 6 minutes. Yeah, you. You're going to do it again? Oh, kitty. There we go. Yeah, note to self. Note to self, spend some more time drawing women's breasts. Even if it's just for stylistic tunes like this, I need to get a little bit better at that. Oof. Look at that, I'm drawing PlayStation era Lara Croft boobies. So I'm also going through the itinerary for Dungeons in Debt. And I'm not sure how many episodes of this I'm going to do just off the top of my head. But I want to try for at least 3 next year. Maybe 4. It depends on, how many views I get. I do need some more support from you guys and spreading around my videos, because I can only do so much on my end. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get blocked from Reddit for doing this one of these days also, because they generally get pretty persnickety about submitting content there, unless it's a reference to something that people recognize. Like the one video I did with the scout and the engineer that actually went viral because of Reddit, where they took the famous "go fuck yourself" conversation and just animated them to it. But it was kind of flattering that the guy who uploaded that video liked it and asked me if he could steal it, and I absolutely gave him permission to do so, because he was the guy that was living in the halfway house that had to deal with the crackheads. But I'm also still trying to plan ahead for the big tunes for next year, because I want to get at least one of them out. And one of them is Romanticide. And that's going to be I'm doing it this year. It's going to be for Valentine's Day. And it's going to have to be set to a higher standard than some of what my animation abilities are right now. But it's got to be set to an even higher standard for storytelling, because I need to level up there as well. That's why I'm so persnickety about trying to get more character from my protagonist, because even though he's a little bit blank, he still needs to be distinct and have a goal. And I kind of realized I've got everything but a goal for him in the first episode, because that needs to be his driving force. When you write these stories and all these characters, everybody has to have a want and everybody has to have a need. I've got a little bit more of his need figured out, not as much of his want as I would like. So I got to do that. And then I have to start looking at some new ways to do backgrounds, because I have a bookstore setting, I have an apartment setting, I have a house setting, I have a city setting with streets and buildings and stuff like that. The apartment setting and the house setting are the easy part of the job. But designing a city, that's where things get a little tricky. Because then I also have to start putting in some crowds of people shuffling around in the background, just walking down the street. Your basic slice of life stuff. So I'm trying to get all this stuff figured out. And, well, we'll see how things go. Because one thing that I do have sorted out with my protagonist is he has terrible luck. Like, really bad luck. And I think that makes the character a little bit more sympathetic. But I need to be a little bit more unique in what his want is, because I don't even know what it is yet. I'm trying to come up with a good want for him. So I will figure that out one of these days. And one of these days real quick, because even if it's just an implication for the first episode. So, snapping my knuckles, stretching out my elbows, plotting out the real exciting stuff, because I also have the horror tune, which I haven't forgotten about, I just haven't gotten to. And I'm going to simplify that a little bit so I can get it done. But I want to get my little horror tune set aside so we can have a little something to show off. Because it's been a long time since I've done a scary tune. And I think I have my protagonist mostly designed in my head. And, even though he has no dialogue, he will have, because, that's what I'm doing to save time right now with all these little short-term projects. No talking, just reactions like, huh? Or a gasp, like that. So, I'm trying to get that taken care of as well. Because that one's going to be all about the setting. And I'm doing my best to finish off a little bit more stuff. That's another reason why I haven't gotten to the Joy comic for this month yet. I was trying to get started on the Halloween tune, and I wasn't feeling it. And if I'm not feeling it, that means I have to plan ahead just a little bit more before I get started. But we'll see how things go. Because right now, with everything else going on in my life, it's just kind of, there's what I want to do, and then there's what I can do. I actually had a kid asking me to do some animation tutorials the other day, because he wants to learn how to do animation. And I've always kind of avoided doing tutorials just because there's so many people who do it on YouTube who do it better than I ever could. Even though I know I could probably get a couple more views doing a tutorial that way, but there's a lot of the basics that they're already out there. I would really just be doing the same thing everyone else is doing, and I'm not sure I could add much to it. So if I'm going to do something, I try and make sure I can add a little bit to it instead of just reiterating what everyone else is doing. Oh, come on. Come on, save. making sure my sister's aware of an email I sent regarding my father's health having a few improvements. Yeah. Okay, that is frame number 3 down. All right. That's right, I got one recovery frame left to do. I knew I forgot something. So we've got this last frame here. This is a recovery frame. And I would normally do a little bit more with these than I'm doing. But I'm not going to fuss about that. Because, like I said, I'm still trying to do the 4 frame minimum. Because here you can take a look at this. Not quite there yet. But I can actually cannibalize this arm, so I don't have to redraw the entire thing. And that's always comforting when you can get away with doing that. Because any little bit of time I can save is appreciated. Come on, Flash. Don't be an asshole. God damn it, what did I just say? Thank you. Okay. So I want to adjust the twist slightly. And I can also cannibalize a little bit of this arm. But only a little bit, because I'm going to have to redraw some of this later on. But it's nice that I'm almost finished with the first section of this little tune. Because this is going to be the animation reward tune for next month on my Patreon. So, if you ever want to donate $1, just go to my Patreon, and there you go. This is one of the rewards. I've been trying to get better about my rewards, so it's not just 7 or 10 seconds of animation a month and a comic that I'm already posting. What I'm trying to do is post a little bit more art. Because I get so bad that stuff. But I generally, what I've been doing with the animation is I've been doing 2 animation rewards a month now. So it's 7 or 10 seconds of one thing, and then 7 or 10 seconds of another thing if I'm working on multiple projects. So you kind of get to see the tune before it's finished. Let's take a look and see how this looks. Well, it's not bad. I know some of it is going to have to be, I'm going to have to add in the sword, I'm going to have to add in a few more, I'm going to have to add in some color so it can see how it's actually looking. I've also still got to plot out a sword fight for next year. Because I want to have red and I want to have black have a sword fight. Okay, I think I see what the problem is. Well, it's kind of a weird problem, but there you go. That's what we try and fix. Because it's supposed to be a proper recovery frame. There we are. So, because this frame here is going to be adjusted, because I will readjust the arm for a slash there and a slash there, I have to do the sword as a separate layer, which is fine. You know, it's this is what we do when we animate. I'm just thinking, I've been complaining about the cat making me hot because she's sitting on my lap all the time, and then I'm remembering we got winter coming probably within the next 7 weeks or so here in Montana. I'm probably going to appreciate having her being a lap cat around then, because it does get pretty damn cold here. And blip. There we go. Actually, there. Yeah, it's always nice when you can see your tune starting to finally come together, because I always get nervous doing this stuff. It always feels like the first few shots just don't feel like they're connecting up until an action of some kind happens. Because then I get interested in it, because then I want to see what happens next. But I have to make what happens next, so some of the mystique is gone for me. And just adjust this. So there is the sword, and because I've got this big motion blur there, I need to have the sword repeat that. So I go to this frame, because we want that little bit of a blur. More animation stuff, you know, this is how we make stuff look like it's faster, going faster than it is. Because in real life, when you swing something, you always see that flash of light behind it, because that's the light of the metal catching, and it creates a blur. So I'm really just mimicking real life. There we are. I need a little bit more of a blur. Because the bigger a blur you have, the faster it looks like it's moving. There we are. And I'm also going to adjust this slightly in order to kind of make it look like there's a little bit more impact happening. Because the second something like this strikes the ground, it's going to hit and it's going to bounce up slightly and recover. So what I do to get around that is we adjust that. See? Look at that nice little bounce there. That's the good stuff. This is always why animation is so demanding. Because you try and catch things like that whenever you can. I'm going to have a very crabby cat if I have to get up and move. But the problem is, she doesn't think about it. She just hops. Sometimes she'll yell at me while I get up, pause for a moment, and then she'll just hop back up like nothing was wrong. I've got a very poopy cat, I guess you could say. But she's decided she's alpha and doesn't want the other cat hopping on my lap, which actually I can't do. Because then the other cat feels bad and becomes a neurotic mess. And I've already got one neurotic cat. 2 is just greedy. There we go. Whew. Kitty, stop. Blech. Yeah. I like having the kitty sit on me, but damn. Damn, she's got real bad cat breath. Blech. Pew. Jeez. Yeah, you should be embarrassed by that. Blech. Yeah, the only animal in the house who has worse breath than her is my mom's pug. Whenever he starts licking or chewing himself, I'm usually on the other side of the room. Because his breath reeks. Cat, come on. It's been like 20 minutes since you shifted. You don't need to shift every 15 or so minutes. Make up your mind. Boy, look at that. That looks good. Because once I finish up adding a little bit more detail in this, I need to move over to the next tune and spend a good 40 minutes working on that to give you guys an idea of what I'm doing. Actually, I just encountered another problem. I've got the sword in the wrong position, and the sword has shrunken a little bit there, so we'll do that. And this actually should be right there in her hand. So it should be right there. Oh. Oh boy. Come on. Whew. Stretch and skew. Almost. I'm just trying to match these. There we go. It's not perfect, but actually I think I can do that and make it a little closer to perfect. That will do. Yep. Autosave. Yeah, you're going to be a pain in the butt. I think that sword is shrunken a little too much. We'll do things this way. Okay, I'm going to get some color in this, just to get a better idea of how things are looking. Yep, come on. Wrong color. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. And then I just got to go back a frame and do this. Just gotta remember to do more stretching and keep this up for 2 weeks. Because it takes your body about 2 weeks to adjust to this stuff. Yes, kitty, I see you. The answer is no. I've got the other cat down here trying to get fed again. I think I may have to increase Red's sword size just a little bit more. But that's something I will end up doing on my own, just because you guys don't need to see me nitpick on every single little tiny detail. Because I will, and I do. That's part of why my stuff has gotten so much better. Oops, wrong one. There we go. There. Damn it. I keep coloring the wrong part. Get the last color here, which is this lighter brown. Oh, come on, Flash, stop being a dickhead. Thank you. And get this darker silver. Just because that's the color of the sword, the sword guard. Blanket on my terminology. Even though I don't mean to. There. Let's take a look and see how everything has come out. I know it's still not going to be grand, but yeah, that's not bad. Oh, I should actually remember to put this down here. Although technically that should be like right there. So we will just do this. So I'm just moving the layers that's on. Let's see how it looks here. I will disable the floating clouds in the background. And then I will remove that just to take a look and see how it looks. Gotta shrink the size there because of what it's doing to the frame rate. Yeah, the frame rate's still going pretty slow. That's not bad. And that reminds me, I still have to have a big tree graphic right there for continuity's sake. But yeah, here is the tune as it stands currently. Slow down and everything. You know, I'm not sure how I'm going to direct my voice actress. I guess I'll have to give her something creative for when she's swinging. Oh, getting rid of this will help some. Something tells me getting rid of that will help some. Yeah. Getting rid of the gradients always does. I keep forgetting that. Because you can see here everything's moving now at the proper frame rate. Because it doesn't have the gradients. Oh, yeah. I didn't do bad on that chop animation at all. Wow. But I can't do anything more with that just yet because I have to draw. Now I have to draw Red's lower body, and then I have to add in her head and her hair, and then I have to add the secondary animation because she still has her shield strapped to her back, and that needs to have a little bit of a bounce. I wonder. I wonder if shrinking this anymore will help. It does. Well, there we go. Well, that's it for that project for right now, anyways. So next on the agenda is this. And this is going to be where everything gets tricky. Because this is the second shot that I've been working on. Make sure I kill the audio so you can enjoy the joke when it comes. But yeah, you can see right there I need to have a few more buildings. Because it actually took me a while to get the animation on this second part done right here. Okay. Oops. So let's see, I think I've got all of one more layer of destroyed buildings that I have to add to make this all work. Because it's supposed to pan out like that. Whew. I hope I sleep well tonight. Damn, I slept like shit last night. I had weird, obnoxious dreams. And I vaguely remember the ones I had. But I'm still not quite getting the restful sleep that I get when I'm on the sleep aid, or the sleep quill, or whatever. So I'm going to have one more layer of buildings down here, and then maybe a few highlights back there. And then I'm all done with that. That's going to be nice. Because the sooner I'm done with this, the easier the other animators will be, because then nobody will be late with anything. Because the whole project got delayed by a month. I can't remember why, but it was. I think it was just as a. Excuse me. That was just a precaution. But yeah, doing the background here is always kind of a pain in the butt, as I am flying blind for part of it. that's okay, because everything is finally close to being finished, and everyone will be able to relax a little bit anyways, because everybody worked their ass off, and some people who are working on this project really did some fantastic work. So I'm just trying to do some very simplistic, basic buildings here. And I may end up I may end up using this for the rear layer back there, because it needs a building or two as well. And then last but not least, we do this. Boom. Now you've got an outline of something, but it's not enough. So this is what I do. Oh, I hear dog is getting kicked out downstairs. Guess it's getting close to dinner time. Not that my folks are going to be very hungry, because I got them a burger like an hour and a half ago. So this is going to be Lazy Man animation after I save. So these are all going to be windows. And you can get... Come on, Flash, stop being an asshole. You can get all you need with just a little bit of graphic. So now all I have to do is cycle over and do a couple of these. Flash, you are starting to really piss me off. I keep getting this weird intermittent lag, but I'm not doing anything, so there should be no reason to be getting the lag. And I have not forgotten about doing the Left 4 Dead tunes that I was planning on doing this year before everything fell apart. I'm just going to have to take the time to sort out how to condense some of what I had. Just a little bit, so I don't lose too much of the writing and gags I was doing. But the problem is it's going to be less toony and silly than I was planning on, because it was meant to be something else, and as time went on, I just had a different idea for how to do stuff. There we go. But I'm still gonna do that, and I'm gonna try and plan it so I just do all 4 episodes. And if it does well, I will do a little bit more. And if that does well, I'll do a little bit more. But I will only do a maximum of like 3 of these or so. So I guess that would be maybe 12 episodes. But it all depends on you guys, because that's where because I don't have any control over how good stuff is. I gotta nag you guys more like the damn public broadcast weirdos used to do back in the 90s. Even though I don't like doing that, because I prefer to just do my thing and be done. But YouTube's a-changin'. There's nothing I can do about that. It's kind of depressing to be an introvert online sometimes, because more often than not, all you want to do is just do your thing and hope people notice you, but also hope that they don't keep noticing you sometimes. I've always had a problem with that. I've often wondered how the extroverts are able to do it, just because I keep getting lost in how I do things. Because I'm so used to just doing my thing, posting it, and then after maybe making a couple thank yous, vanishing so I can get more stuff done. But that's not the internet anymore. You got to be more social, which is really a challenge sometimes. Because every so often I can't think of interesting things to talk about. Or at least stuff that I think is interesting. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I think I'm going to actually do one last thing with this. So I will cannibalize this building for, not cannibalize it, I will recycle the graphic twice over. There. So I will have two of these buildings set up there, just like I've got a couple of the other buildings set up there. Just to breathe a little bit more life, because this is a this is still kind of a flat background. I can do a few things to add a little bit more to it, but only a few things because I've never designed this background to be anything more than something as simplistic as it is. It was always meant to be this way. Actually, I'm going to tuck you up here. Let's take a look and see how it looks. That looks better. It almost looks like a city now. Almost. Yeah. Where's my... That's what I wanted. So I still need to have just a little bit more in the foreground there. As you can see, once it goes down there, there's that big old gap. So I just need to have a few more buildings there, and then I'm good. I also still need to have an explosion or two. Let's see, the explosion would happen right about there. That's just about enough time for an explosion. Let me leave a marking on my timeline. So yeah, this is the shot in question that's taken me as long as it has. Let's see, based on the location and everything else. Ooh, potential mess up. I can correct that. Yeah. Okay. So when I have a mess up like this, I just have to increase the whole thing. Shrink you down just a little bit more. Just to, I think this might actually help the scope also. Okay. I just got to add one more layer of buildings right in front of this one right there. And then I'm done. And because of the location, these buildings have to be a little bit closer. So they won't quite be as blurred as the ones in the background, but it will be just enough. So yeah, these are all the buildings are. They're just very simplistic. But I need to have just a little bit more variety also. So let me hide you. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be doing dinner till about 6:30 here. And that's a good thing. Gives me just a little bit more time to work. So I've got one last layer here. To keep it from being too lazy, I have to design 2 buildings and not just one. They have to be 2 unique buildings. And I still might adjust things, but I need to get this done, because once this is all finished, I have to add some settings to the right side of the screen, which doesn't have destroyed buildings. So first things first, we do our light layer, because the light from all the fires is going to be hitting this. Then we do the second layer, which is a lighter color. And then last, black. And there you go. We have one building done. And because everything else is as square as it is, I can't quite do this because this changes the perspective of all the other buildings. But I can cheat. Now it matches everything else just a little bit. Because, yeah, all the animation that I had to do here was mostly here in the forefront. Believe it or not, it was a real pain in the ass to get this to work. Wait, I forget. Did I do tires on this thing? I did tires, didn't I? Now I'm getting panicky. Did I not do tires? Oh shit, I didn't do tires on it. Now I gotta do tires. Yeah, well, we can't do that. I thought I did tires for it. Did I go over that layer or what? Well, I'll fuss with that later on. Well, okay, well, I can add my tire graphics later. So here we have a city burning in the background. And so I just need to add this building over here. You can see how much smaller it is. That's going to ruin the perspective if it stays that way. It has to realistically be more like that. Because if I look at it right here, even without some of the graphics set up here, you can see right about this frame, it kind of looks more like an actual city. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Because, yeah, this is me still trying to get better at doing backgrounds, even if I'm simplifying them this much. But as before, I will cannibalize. No, I'm not cannibalizing. I will recycle this just a little bit. Because the lighting is technically coming from over there. I have to do that. And then I just got to do a few more windows. And I might add some more smoke to this. I'm not sure yet, but it's gonna be good stuff. Because this was the first time I was actually animating at the proper aspect ratio. Well, it's not the proper aspect ratio anymore because of HD graphics, but close enough. And I wish I hadn't been so set in my ways and I'd gotten used to doing this before, because I've only been doing this now for a few months, and it can still be kind of intimidating. But that's okay. And just snag a little bit of this, because I also have to put in some fire animation. But let's, first off, we have to take a look and see how everything is, because sometimes you don't always need the huge layer of graphics you think you do. Okay, so this guy needs to be about right there. I'm going to increase his size to 1. Very good. So I have that one right there. And then again, because I'm lazy, but I'm trying to make it look a little bit more like a city, we recycle our graphics. And then for the final touch, add a slight blur to them. I can't remember what layer, how blurry the other ones are, but I will do that. Say that's 4. Let's try. There. And so step 1. Got to shift everything over here. Yes, we get rid of my I farted joke. As silly and immature as it is. But damn it, old internet humor still has a place in the world. So here's step 1. Very good. I'm going to actually do this. And now we do step 2. Yeah, I'm giving away the joke here. I've been trying to cover that up. Oh well. Okay, let's cover that up and take a look and see how the last little bit here works. Needs to go down just a little slower. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the one I want. Yeah, I've still got that empty space there. I should probably do something about that. Yeah, what the hell? I know how to fix that. The same way you fix everything else when you're an animator. You stop being lazy for just a little bit and put just a little something more. So I've got a blank area down there that I need to put something in. Well, we will just do this. Let's see how it looks if we try this. Because unfortunately it looks a little more bare than it should. Oh, excuse me, thank you. Oh, look at that. That's the trick. All right. So I do need to put just a little bit more. I gotta have a small building there, and then we're completely done with adding buildings to to this, and that's gonna feel nice. Anytime you finish something in animation, it's a solid victory. So I just need to have a few small buildings around here for to make sure it doesn't look as bare as it does now, because it does look a little bit more bare than it should. Okay. And here's to being lazy. Wow, that's a little much. I guess may have to go in a different layer then, because I really just want to have this little bit of a building here, but I forgot how blurry I've got that layer there, because you can see how simple the graphic is. What happens if we do that? Let's take a look. That actually works. And everything suddenly looks less bare. There, done. I don't want to draw any more buildings. We will take a look at the handiwork. Look at that. That's pretty good. So I've still got to have an explosion. And I think I've still got the graphics for that somewhere around, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. But here is the full tune, minus a few extra graphics that I have to add in, like tires on the other shot, because I forgot to do that. I am ready to pat myself on the back. I wonder if I accidentally deleted those frames. Nah, well. I need a little bit more to that layer, I think. Not much, just a little bit. It's the top layer here with the buildings. This one. That gap right there, it's still a little too bare. But it looks nice. I mean, if I had more time to put something a little fancier in it, I would happily do so, but unfortunately, the amount of time I have is a little limited. So we'll just have to do this for now. Come on, thank you. So let's see what happens. I think this should fix this problem a little bit. After all, I'm only trying to cover up a little bit of emptiness. Excuse me. Thank you. See, and I think I'm about, yeah, I thought so. I am 2 frames off. Well, I will fight with that later because I have to add a little bit more stuff there, and that gives me just a hint more time. And I may sneak in another building right there to close the gap. But for right now, that's pretty good. But I think that's going to be it for this stream. So, thanks to everybody for stopping by and keeping me company. And hope you all have a good day. So I will try and do another stream on Friday. So, catch you later.